I'm Patricia Allingham Carlson, and this is my video, Moonrise over Peace Valley. Peace Valley is a beautiful park in my area with a lovely name. It attracts many local photographers of great talent, and one of these has the name of Leah Gilboa Hill. She took this photograph of the moon rising over Lake Galena in Peace Valley. When I saw it posted, I was transfixed, and I asked her if I would have her permission to use it as an inspiration for a painting. She said yes. It's a moody time of the day, and I was very challenged to try to capture it in all its beauty and serenity. I hope you enjoy it and give it a thumbs up. Now let's paint. I started this painting with the orb, the moon. I painted it in cadmium yellow and immediately painted water all around it, so the cadmium yellow would not make a hard line but would spread and get soft. I continued to surround the moon area with water and then took water into the sky as well. Here I'm blending it out so it has a nice soft edge. I'm adding more cadmium yellow as well. Next color I'm adding is some rose madder. In some places it blends with the yellow and makes a beautiful peach color. When the moon is surrounded by mist, it often takes on rainbow colors in an aura around it. The next colors come in are Quin Violet and some Payne's Gray mixed with indigo. I'm marking out the colors in my sky, and then I'll go back and try to make them a little bit brighter. Floating across the sky were some beautiful clouds, and clouds look absolutely wonderful when you can paint them in wet on wet. Unfortunately, the colors also fade and become much lighter. I'm holding the paper up, try to let the clouds drift down and let the colors bleed a little bit. I work into the orb a little bit more to try to blend the edges more completely. I don't want this to be a clear-cut moon. I want it to be a soft and misty moon. While that's drying, I come into the shoreline, mark out where it's going to be, and begin to paint it in. I actually would like it to blend into the sky a bit. So if it does that, if the paper's still a little damp there, that would be a benefit. If it's not, I'll work into it with a damp brush. For this deep color, I've mixed indigo and violet and some Payne's Gray. I'm not using black. After I've painted in the hills, I break them a little bit with some treetop bumps, just to show that there is a forest there. And then I add another layer of color because I want it to be good and deep in a silhouette. I am marking exactly the center of the moon's reflection on the water. I don't want to have a moon in the sky reflecting in the wrong spot on the water. So I've marked myself a line straight down the middle with some cadmium yellow. And next I wet down the water. I'm wetting it in streaks on either side of where the moon reflection will be. My first colors are getting blocked in very lightly. And here again, I'm using some rose madder and some quin violet, just like in the sky. Some soft indigo and some Payne's gray are also being added. When you paint water, or when I paint water, I really try to keep my lines mostly horizontal, unless there's a reflection of something vertical into the water. The lines should all go across. When it's a serene and quiet wind, that is. A choppy sea or a stormy lake would be a different matter. As I paint, I try to feel the waves and feel how they would ripple and go back and forth, and in some cases be carried all the way across the paper. In most cases, only partly, because of that reflection. I'm looking at a photographic reference, and that's helping me a lot too. As you begin to get the sky and the silhouette of the distant shore and the water, you could start to get a feeling of what the composition is and what it's going to look like. After I've blocked in the lightest colors, I've mixed up again some indigo with some violet, and I'm coming in with darker colors and streaks. If an edge looks too hard, I am breaking it with a damp brush. And then I move on back to the sky. I'm deepening the colors that have faded and making them a little bit more vivid. Here's some more violets coming in with a layer of water to blend it. Some rose madder into the lower part of the sky. And while it's on my brush, reflecting into the water as well. Back to the sky. I am brightening my cadmium yellow around the moon and then blending it outward with plain water on my brush. Now something you gotta watch, and that's blending a strong yellow into anything with blue in it. For example, indigo, because it will turn your sky sort of green. And if that's not a problem for you, then that's fine. But if it's not what you want, then you gotta avoid mixing them. Here I've also added some of the rose around the edge. And if that blends into the blue, it just simply makes them purple. I have seen skies with touches of green in them. That seems to be mostly at sunset or around stormy weather. Where you see the darks coming in, I am using indigo. Now, since the moon got more yellow, I'm adding more yellow to the water as well, particularly down the center streaky reflection line. I am deepening the color of the distant trees on the shoreline. So they are getting a second layer. So far, everything's gotten a second layer. More darks into the water and more sky layering as well, or glazing. I showed this painting to one of my art students and asked, does it look like the daytime or the nighttime? And she said, it looks like daytime. I said, well, how can I show it's a moon and not the sun? And she said, put some craters on it, because the sun does not show any craters. That was a good idea. So I added some craters to the moon and made them very soft, but you can see the marks there. Once I'm satisfied with the background, then I can bring in the foreground, which is the trees growing on the close-up shore through which we're viewing this beautiful moonlight scene. I've mixed up my same reliable mix of indigo, Payne's gray, and purple. And when I want it to be very dark, I'll sometimes add some sepia. This will give me a good strong dark for my tree silhouettes. And avoid using black. When I paint trees, I try to make a variety of thickness. Young trees that are very, very skinny, and big, sturdy trees that are much thicker. I also try not to place things in a pattern, but try to keep the patterns random because I think they're more natural. There were some sticks and some driftwood sticking up from a bump on the shore. And I'm using the tip of my brush or a very fine brush to make these very skinny little branches. And then I will go back to the trees and develop them some more. As I paint these trees, my idea is to make them, the branches frame the moon. Almost like a picture frame, and the moon will just be peeking through. Now you can always make branches thicker or stronger, but it's much harder to make them thinner. So I build up the tree thicknesses and the branch thicknesses very slowly. Much easier to add than to subtract with watercolor. My students often ask me, do I have to paint that tree the way it looks? Because it's got that awkward branch that's really not very attractive. And I will answer, of course, no. With trees, you can paint them just about any which way you imagine. If you have a big tree obscuring the view or throwing your composition off, you don't have to paint it at all. You don't have to ever include all the branches you see, because sometimes that will make the composition too busy. And you could certainly add something that's not there to add to the interest of your composition. I tell my students, trees aren't like the human face. They can go just about any which way and still be trees. Now with faces of animals or people, You have to sort of make them more recognizable with more standard features. So I am slowly adding tiny branches. Some cases they are getting thicker. And here I'm adding a second layer of color to my dominant tree on the right-hand side. I will not make all of my branches so dark. Thinner branches can be lighter or darker according to how they look or how the light's on them. It takes some patience to make tiny little skinny branches, but sometimes you just have to have that patience and make it work. You can see that I've developed the tree branches on the right side far more than the left. That's because I'm left-handed, and I'm trying not to work on the left side until I've completed the right side more thoroughly, so I don't smear any paint on the left while I'm working on the right. So once I'm fairly satisfied with the right side, I'll move over to the left. I would imagine most of my viewers are right-handed, so you would reverse this and develop your left side first and then move to your right. At least it's a logical way to paint if you don't want to worry about smearing wet paint around. As I paint these branches, what I'm trying for is asymmetry and adding interest, and also keeping a balance between the two sides. When I say balance, I don't want to make a big, really wide tree on one side and not add some equal weight in whatever form on the left side. It's very close to being done, so I cover up first one side and then the other to see if I need to add any more, compositionally speaking, to make it look better or to make it look more balanced. And I've seen a place on the right-hand side where I need to strengthen the branches just a little bit. This practice helps me to figure my paintings out. And when it looks about right, I'll compare both sides again in the whole composition. I like the effect of silhouettes on bright skies, silhouettes of trees. It almost feels like a stained glass window. A few more touches. And it looks about right to me. This is a very teeny brush I'm using, making really skinny little branches. I found a place to sign it, and it's done. I hope you enjoyed watching my video, Moonrise over Peace Valley. This was featuring the moon shining on Lake Galena. Please give it a thumbs up and help support my page. You can also ring the bell and subscribe, and then you won't miss any videos that come out in the future. There's some links below for you to check out. You could find some products that I like to use. You could find links to my Facebook art page and my blog. You can also find a link to some of the products I like to make from my paintings. Keep on painting, and I'll see you next video.